Two of my favorite quotes that I love to use, and I think it's quite befitting of this situation. The first quote is, "It is better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt of being thought a fool." Meaning once you open your mouth, you are a goddamn fool. There's no doubt about it. The other quote, it comes from Jack Ma, a Chinese billionaire, I believe. His says, "It is not dishonorable to say I don't know when asked to speak on a subject matter you just don't know about, you don't know enough about. It is in fact dishonorable when you speak up and pretend you know that which you do not." These two things are what come to mind when I go into this subject. I actually am a bit baffled that it's even controversial, because it should be a no-brainer that Zenless Zone Zero collaborating with Capcom is absolutely the best collaboration to do. There's just no question about it. When you take a look at Zenless Zone Zero and you have extensive knowledge and experience as a fighting game community player, and you know the origins of Capcom and the inspirations and the pioneer that they are for many different genres, it's a no-brainer that this collaboration is absolutely one of the best ways to market their video game, seeing as their video game has a number of overlaps with Capcom. Now, if you're not aware of these overlaps, that doesn't mean it's a bad collab. That means you're uninformed and unqualified to speak on it. You should probably just zip your mouth and let people who are informed speak on it. Now, that's going to come off as a shot because Tectone disagreed with me. And I know the majority of y'all know we are well acquainted. Tectone's somebody I broke bread with, somebody I love, who is actually a dear friend to me in the content creator space. Oh, this is not an attack on my brother. In fact, I don't know what the fuck he was waffling about. I don't know if he woke up on the wrong side of the bed that day or just didn't activate his brain in the moment. I will say when he streams, he does everything pure improvisation off the top, which is still to me very impressive to do. I want to give a little bit of context here. I made a video about Street Fighter and Capcom's collaboration, and I spoke about it in honestly a quite objective manner. This was not the kind of video you disagree with or becomes controversial, despite me being a very controversial figure in the gacha space due to my strong opinions and my against the grain takes often at times. I expect me to be controversial a number of times because of how I am. Not with this though. This was not one of those videos. This is the kind of video where you just like speak positively of it and think about the the psychology behind the marketing tactics and what they're trying to achieve and tap into, which is the fighting game audience. But somehow the gacha community, not everybody, a number of people though, found a way to make this a negative situation. And I just feel like that is the most wild shit to make this. Like, how did you even do that? That's impressive. But again, somebody who I respect with a degree of intelligence is supporting this perspective, and they're on the other side of the fence, which is why I have to address it, because it's gotten public. He didn't upload it to his personal channel. I think the More Tectone channel is not even ran by him. Somebody else did, but he did go on stream and say this shit and say I made a bad take. Of course, we're going to defend that. We're going to explain why not only Tectone is ignorant, but why a lot of you motherfuckers is ignorant. So let's go ahead and get into it and watch his reaction. Before I start the video, I want to make this explicitly clear. The premise of this argument is that fighting game players don't care about gacha games. That's the premise of the argument that Tectone backs and says is a fair statement. Now, before I start the video, I also want to give a little bit of glazing here. Tectone is a legendary figure in the gacha space. He has made some serious waves in these waters. He has built up, I can't even keep track of how many content creators he has built up and shed lights on, including my channel. He's even shed a light on my channel. The thing is, if this argument were the other way around and he was saying that gacha players don't give a damn about fighting games, I wouldn't even be having this discussion, because I respect Tectone's well-versed and extensive knowledge in this space and the tenure that he's been in this space. As I said, he's a very intelligent individual, and often at times I agree with the majority of his takes. The problem, the underlying issue, is that Tectone is not that figure in the fighting game community. In fact, I would argue he's probably an amateur based off of the responses he gave in this video. So to speak on behalf of the fighting game community goes back to those quotes I brought up earlier. to speak about things and pretend you know those that you do not, or to open your mouth about a situation you don't fully understand, that is the definition of ignorance. So with that being stated, let's get into it.
This is Gacha Smack being based. Okay, here we go. Oh, Jesus Christ, here we go. Alright, context for this post. My most recent video discussed the potential collab between Hoyo and Capcom. As usual, salty gacha players are saying it won't succeed when it releases. Fighting game players don't care about gacha games, etc. I feel like that's a fair statement for this part.
So fighting game players don't care about gacha games. He feels like that's a fair statement.
I feel like this is fair to say. And I'll explain why that is. This is also hilarious because gacha players do this constantly. Gacha players trying to give their takes on what the fighting game community would or would not be interested in. Comedy of the week. I wonder why he feels that way.
So the reason I feel that way is basically what I just said earlier. The comedy in it is that a gacha player only cares about tits and ass and anime waifus. They don't know shit about what a fighting game community is interested in unless they themselves are a fighting game player. But that's the people I'm referring to. It's very important to have that context. This is the general gacha player we are referring to.
Honkai Star Rail won't succeed. Best-selling gacha game the majority this year. Yeah, of course, we all knew that. People who weren't dum-dums understood this. Wuthering Waves won't succeed. Made over $100 million in the first, or $100 million in the first month, and seeking more enjoyment with overwhelming success. Of course, yeah, we all predicted this. Of course, we all said, but we said both of these things. Zone Zero will fail. I have not been saying that. I've been saying Zone Zero is going to do great due to the fact that it's a Hoyoverse title. Do we see a trend here? Yes, self-proclaimed experts in marketing, gaming trajectory. Fighting game players don't care about a gacha game. I was literally a massive fighting game player, and before I give a shit about gacha game doing what it was, so was EO. Yeah, we both got run in. Okay, so that's two people saying we liked fighting games, so that means everybody likes fighting games. This is a really shit take.
And here's where we're going to take the issue at, but I'll let him cook a little bit longer.
I'm going to just keep it a buck. Yeah, so I'm gonna break something down for you.
So before he goes into a guy scores a goal in soccer, but that was a nice shot. That's anyway. It's irrelevant.
I'm gonna break something down for everybody real quick.
Okay, I just wanted to get him off that screen. Anyways, here's my problem with the rebuttal that he made there. He said that that's just two people. Now, what he's implying here is that I need to summon the entirety of the fighting game community to vouch for the same thing that I said in order to make it valid, which I think is an absolute, not only unrealistic and delusional take. It's just a bad rebuttal. If one or two people are well versed and have extensive knowledge in a field of expertise, one or two people is all you need. Often at times when you go to take care of anything in your life, you're going to talk to one or two people. If I wanted to know about the UFC, I can go talk to any diehard UFC fan and get the general consensus about the UFC. If I wanted to know about gacha games, I can go and talk to Tectone as somebody who doesn't know anything about gacha games and say, hey, Tech, what's the gacha community like? I can gather maybe 2 or 3 content creators in the gacha community, and they'll give me the entire rundown with clarity, and they'll be pretty goddamn spot on about the temperature of the community's interest, what sparks their passion, and why they are interested in gacha games. The same thing goes for anybody in the fighting game space. I am somebody, in fact, give me a second here. I'll go ahead and type it out real quick. Okay, so these are all the fighting games I've played in my lifetime. Now, anybody who is a fighting game fanatic will look at that resume, if you want to call it, and come to the conclusion that I am far from a novice in fighting games. This is not like a flex or anything. This is to prove to you that somebody who's played these amounts of fighting games has played a shit ton of ranked matches, has played against a lot of fighting game players. You understand this shit intrinsically. You understand it profoundly. Everything about a fighting game that makes a fighting game enjoyable, I'm going to know about it because I've played way too many of them. Same thing with Tectone when it comes to a gacha game. If you talk to Tectone about gacha games, he can tell you precisely why people enjoy them, what's good about them, what's bad about them, because he's well versed in that realm. So when you use the 1 or 2 people is a bad or shit take argument, it's actually a shit take to say that in and of itself, because if those 1 or 2 people are absolute experts in the space, that would imply that they're capable of telling you what sparks that niche's interest and passion and what's enjoyable about it and how you could draw a correlation to whatever we're comparing it to, which is Zenless Zone Zero. To conclude that little rant, you don't need a whole community to define what a community is interested in. You only need a group of people who's been in that community long enough to explain to you the temperature. So I would say it's actually a shit take to think I need to rally an army. However, I do have proof, and we'll show that proof as well. If he needs more than 1 or 2 people, we can show more than 1 or 2 people. But if the argument here is, oh, you need to have 1 million people, yeah, it's a stupid fucking argument.
Just in case everybody needs to know, right? Just in case everybody needs to know. All right. So, fighting game players, gacha game players. All right. What?
Now, at this part, I thought this was funny because I was like, okay, bro's about to show me his knowledge of fighting games. He's about to show some like what a fighting game is all about, the similar interests or the interests they don't have. I thought he was about to go into detail right here. This was fucking hilarious.
What can we directly infer by these 2 players? Okay. What can we tell about these 2 players? Okay. The biggest thing, fighting game players like fighting games.
Let's see if he puts some more up in there. Maybe he puts some more up in there.
Gacha game players like gacha games. All right. So these are both directly what we can infer.
So brother said, hey, why does your kids, why do they like Mickey Mouse? Well, because it's Mickey Mouse. So what I find fascinating about this is, for me, I'm speaking on behalf of me, this is very telling to me that Tectone is an amateur in the fighting game genre. If he wasn't an amateur, if he was a veteran and somebody who is well versed, he would have put a lot of things down that indicate why fighting game players play fighting games. And in the process of doing so, he would actually come to it would give him the answer. He would have an epiphany as he's doing it. Oh, that's why they would like Zenless Zone Zero. That's why they would find interest in Zenless Zone Zero. Since he didn't do it, though, allow me to do that for you. Let's go ahead and pull up my little notepad. Let's do the exact same thing that Tectone did. Let's come over here. And let's do the same thing here. We don't have to make it this big. Okay, so fighting game players. What do they like? Let's start off with the premise here real quick. Flamboyant moves, i.e. ultimates, super moves, special abilities, which, by the way, the founder of this is Capcom, Street Fighter. First game of all time to put super moves and special abilities and ultimates in their game that looks super flashy and flamboyant, as I stated. What's this have in common? Zenless Zone Zero, Wuthering Waves, Hoyo games. All right, now let's continue on. What else do fighting game players like? They like intricate combat depth. Okay, what's an intricate combat depth? Parry, dodge, meter management. There we go. That's a good one. Punishment, right? Punishing somebody after being patient. All right, let's continue on. Iframes, plus and minus, and we'll throw in timing. Now, you can even think of a couple of more intricate combat depth mechanics, but all of these are also very attractive to a fighting game player. What does that have in common? ZZZ, Hoyo games, Souls games. Pretty much any games, that have that, a fighting game player is going to enjoy it. Let's continue on. What else do fighting game players enjoy? Bad bitches that can throw hands, giga chats that are muscular and can throw hands. And they don't have to be muscular, but this is something that fighting game players love. What do they have in common? ZZZ, Hoyo games, Souls games, and pretty much any other games that have that shit. Now, why might a gacha player think this is a bad collaboration? This was the next thing that came into my brain. I was trying to put myself into the mind frame of these guys. Why would they absolutely think this is a bad collaboration? Well, here's one. Ignorance. They don't actually know anything about the correlations of a fighting game and an action game. Ignorance. They just don't even know, right? I think it's very telling that fighting game players equals like fight games. It's very telling to me that Tectone was incapable of even knowing why a fighting game player likes fighting games. It shows that he's a novice. And this is not disrespect to him. I'm just keeping it a buck. What the fuck is that? I thought bro was about to cook. He put out the notepad and everything. And bro said fighting. Anyways, we're going to continue on here. Number 2, fighting games and gacha games are on opposite sides of the fence. What I mean by that is a gacha player might think this is a bad collaboration because fighting game players are super hardcore players, very competitive, and they get super sweaty, whereas gacha games are completely opposite. Super casual, very chill, and, just obviously the complete opposite of a fighting game. That means it's a bad collaboration. Actually, to the contrary, if you're a fighting game player, it's very fucking stressful. I don't know if you some of y'all might think of that as a joke. I'm not lying to you. That shit is stressful as fuck. It's the most stressful niche in the gaming industry. More stressful than a Souls game. Because nothing is more defeating than you spending hours and hours in practice and ranked matches just to go to the tournament and get humbled by a motherfucker who ain't had a haircut in 6 years. It's a very humiliating thing. It's a big blow to the pride. And they live that every day, day in and day out, and they go in ranked matches and they get clapped, or it just gets very fucking competitive. So it's very stress induced. So when they go to play other games, they're actually looking for the exact opposite, but can still offer a bit of that itch of what makes a fighting game passion spark. So the thing that a gacha player is thinking is bad is actually good for a fighting game player. I will actually show proof, though, of fighting game players liking gacha games. We'll get to that. But at first, I had to school my brother on this because bro thought he was cooking and he wasn't cooking. All right, let's get to it.
Now, what can we not infer? What can we not infer? Like gacha games. And why is that? Because they're not gacha game players. They're fighting game players.
Does Tech think fighting game players are incapable of playing anything that's not a fighting game? Like, bro, Tech, you realize fighting game players are down to play anything where they can fight, right? A fighting game player just wants to fight. It's not exclusive to the fighting game genre. Fighting exists in a lot of games.
Players. However, fighting game players and gacha game players like fighting games and gacha games. Okay.
And this, I want to say this right now because I don't want Tectone to look like an idiot. He's temporarily a bit of an idiot in this situation. This is a very smart guy. I genuinely think in this instance, bro's streaming live. Maybe he didn't have a lot of sleep. I think he's straight up talking out his ass right now. And he's not able to gather his thoughts as well as he could. Like I said, I don't even know why he was doing this. This is what I'm saying. This is one of those where it's like, stop pretending to know some shit you don't know, brother. Because this is horrible. All right, bro, you said the same thing 3 times.
So what am I getting at here? What am I really getting at here? What I'm getting at is, while we can't directly infer that a fighting game player maybe won't like a gacha game.
There's plenty of ways to do that. You can just go and talk to a bunch of fighting game community players.
We also can't know that assuredly.
Yes, we can. We absolutely can. You dismissed it earlier when I told you I was a massive fighting game player as well as EO, and that we still got reeled in, which means if two people who were massive fighting game players who played thousands of ranked matches still got roped into a gacha genre they didn't give a fuck about prior to, that would mean we're capable of liking gacha games because by definition, we could represent a lot of fighting game players. But again, we will show other people that also have the same notion. I will reveal footage from Maximilian. I will also show a community post of mine, which he's reading right now, where a literal fighting game legend in the space comments on it. And I'm in the gacha space. So the fact that a fighting game player saw my post is also very telling.
Right? We also really can't know that assuredly. Okay, now we could know that an anime watcher who also plays open world RPGs might like an anime open world RPG.
And see, in this instance is when it dawned on me. You're finding similarities from an anime watcher and a gacha game, but you can't find similarities between a fighting game and the same thing because you don't know the similarities. You don't see the fucking overlap that's slapping you right in the head. I already pointed it out earlier though, but this is the issue. This is his whole issue and the issue of a lot of people who probably have the same mindset. They literally are incapable because they don't know that all of this shit here that's in the Zenless Zone Zero and Hoyo and Wuthering Waves games, it originated from fighting games and from Capcom. The swap mechanic. You know how all these games have a swap mechanic in them. Any fighting game player out there will tell you where that swap mechanic came from. Marvel versus Capcom. Yep. King of Fighters as well. Didn't come from a Hoyo game. No, they replicated that and was inspired heavily by Capcom in fighting games. Overlaps hit you right in the face if you just pay attention, brother.
But we can't directly infer that a fighting game player and a gacha game will have a huge crossover for one, not a fighting game RPG, because there's no similarity, right? Besides, there's combat. However, we don't call fighting games combat games. We call them fighting games.
Like, I'll be honest, brother. The more I watch this shit, the funnier it is. The funnier it is. Because bro is just waffling, guys. Bro is literally waffling.
Right, but I think the crossover for fighting games and gacha games are so much lower than one might actually realize due to the fact that there is no proof of concept that gacha game players and fighting game players have a huge overlap. And
that is due to your ignorance. There's a massive proof of concept, as I've already explained to you.
What I'm saying is, while it might not be a bad idea to advertise a gacha game to a fighting game player, it might not be the most efficient use of your money.
Now we're getting into the reaching zone here. We're reaching, right? Because we're trying to dictate how Hoyoverse could better spend their money without understanding the functionality and identity of what Hoyo views their Zenless Zone Zero game as, which they know that better than anybody else. Here's the thing that I know that I can comment on with the knowledge that I do have. The gacha genre has been captured in whole by Hoyoverse. It has officially entered the realms of saturated in terms of marketing. Now, they're still going to market the genre to keep their paws on it, to keep their grips on it. But it is absolutely saturated. So the percentage of them capturing newer players from the gacha space has been severely diminished. They are definitely receiving diminishing returns at this point and falling on the same exact people, which is still important. But that said, if they tap into another genre that also synergizes with the identity and functionality of their games, such as fighting games, the percentage of tapping into players is way fucking higher because it's unsaturated. They can capture a lot more players in that space than they could in the gacha space. Hopefully that shit makes sense.
For the most direct crossover and transfer from both player bases. Does that make sense? Bro, what are we even talking about? What's the downside of this? Genuine question. Using your money inefficiently when you could be advertising better to a demographic that would have a guaranteed better crossover.
So, and here's the thing. I don't think Tectone is not cooking here when he says that. But we're talking about $1 billion company here who it's not inefficient. There's actually no loss. If they market to anything they choose to market at, there's only the results and a potential net gain of a following of people who are going to stick with them throughout their games. There's really no net loss. I'm serious. And I don't know why tech is reaching here. Maybe there's something deeper into this shit that I don't know about. But I don't know what I don't know. He's reaching. I don't know what else to say about this. It's just a fucking reach.
Hopefully that makes sense, right? So what I'm saying is it might work. The risk is a lot higher than one might know when you could just be advertising for other genres that might have much easier crossover.
See, I feel like he's walking it back in his mind as he's walking himself through it, but I feel like it's that meme in I forget the name of the show with all the goofy motherfuckers like Seth Rogen and James Franco, where they were like, "Come back," and he was like, "No, I've already walked too far," and he just doesn't want to walk it back.
So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like saying me, and once again, love Gacha Smack before.
Hey, it's same here, brother. Love you too.
Or anybody thinks I have beef with this guy. Love Gacha Smack, love EO, love.
I don't think it has anything to do with me. I'm gonna keep it a stack with y'all. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Maybe he's pissed off about Zenless Zone Zero. I don't know. I feel like his typical rationale and logic is obscured by some unknown variable.
Kari, but just because a couple of dudes like a fighting game.
This is somebody who is literally like ran to for takes all the time. And that's not like by accident. It's because he gives spectacular level-headed takes.
Doesn't mean
on the spot
that the budget for the advertisement could have been a little bit better spent in a different regard, in my opinion. But I don't really think it was the best use of money.
Yeah, so this is where I just strongly disagree. I literally think it's the best use of money. And the only reason I said that is because, like I told y'all, it's the gacha market is saturated. If he comes out, if he says, which I think he does, I think he did it with an anime, brother, the chances of them collaborating with an anime to get a new audience, the chances are the audience that you think is new, they're already a part of the 42 million pre-registers. Oh, we're going to collaborate with Jujutsu Kaisen? Oh, they're a part of the 42 million register already because anime and gacha game players are one and the same. So again, the saturation is wild. You can't keep thinking I'm going to collaborate with the same exact fucking community that I have already captured. There's diminishing returns on it.
It's an opportunity cost? Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Why not both? Well, yeah, in a dream sense, sure. You could probably say, oh, yeah, I mean, every person who sees the advertisement's going to go play it, but that might not be the case. I mean,
I think I've made my point here. What I want to get into next is the proof of what I'm talking about. Maximilian, one of my favorite content creators in the space, Texon as well, by the way. But I absolutely fucking love Max as well. Also one of the most prominent and prevalent creators when it comes to the fighting game genre, Final Fantasy VII. Big fan of the guy, but who gives a fuck about all that? This is somebody that goes back to that example I was telling you about. If they vouch for something or they speak up on something saying it's massive, there's weight to that word due to the renowned reputation of the creator. Literally, if not the biggest, one of the biggest fighting game creators in space. I'm pretty sure he is the biggest creator in the space. I dead ass. I don't think there is a bigger creator than Max. But let's go ahead and take a look at it. What he has to say about it.
Street Fighter and Zenless have a collab? What? I think I might have a Zenless sponsored stream similar to like last time we did one, maybe sometime next month. Wait a minute, what? Zenless Zone Zero is doing a Street Fighter collab? How? Is it costumes? On the 29th, really? It's a round table?
Bro, what? Yeah, there's no way it's like a guest character or something.
Keep in mind, too, his chat is a fighting game chat. So even if you come to this ridiculous notion that it's just one guy again, I don't know. I already explained how dumb that is, but look at the chat then.
Shit, right?
我只是想带给玩家一个很爽的体验。作品じゃなくて商品作ってる。
What the fuck?
どういう体験をお客さんにしてもらいたいか。仕事会要想办法。 伝える価値が生まれる
Bro, what?
很紧张。
That's crazy. That's a mobile game. I think Zenless Zone Zero is going to be on everything in the near future. That's crazy, dude. Holy shit. That would be a ridiculous collab, right?
And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, the fact that you think fighting game players don't care about this is wild. It's so easy for a fighting game player to be of to be of interest to them. You know, like, to deny it is just like you're just like fucking denying it just to deny it, bro. But let's go ahead and go to my my community post as well. Okay, so let's click on this. This is the post, by the way. There's a guy, which I think I said this earlier. First of all, I don't even know this guy, right? But he says, fighting game YouTuber here. I play Honkai daily and used to be a big Genshin well. People are stupid, but everyone online is an expert. This guy actually has raving fans comment on this. Keep in mind, this is my community. This is a dude I've never met before. We're in the gacha space because I'm a gacha content creator these days. Love your stuff, Lotus. Glad to see you here, Lotus. Hey, W Lotus. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, who cares? Lotus the GOAT. No way, Lotus. Yo, Lotus. Hey, yo, is that Lotus? I'm surprised you haven't tried Wuthering Waves yet. W Lotus. This is the gacha space. 179 thumbs up. People already know who he is. That is very telling that fighting game players exist in the gacha space and care about gacha games. So that's like undeniable evidence right there, right? But there's 359 comments on my post. It's riddled with people saying I'm a fighting game player. Let's check one out. Wait. Gacha loyalists don't know that a lot of fighting game players play gacha games to some form or extent. It's pretty common for a fighting game player to have 1 or 2 gacha games in the back because it's a nice way to chill out away from locals, majors, and grind sessions. Stress-free and take our minds off of the fighting game in front of us for a second apart from work and shit. The amount of times I've been to a major and I've seen someone on the sticks get on Nikkei, HSR, etc. after playing a tourney can't even be counted on my hands. Hell, Kazunoko is an excellent example. Dude plays tons of gacha games and games with gacha elements. Justin Wong also plays solo leveling. If you think it's just 1 or 2 guys, keep reading. There's a lot of people here. As someone that's been a part of the fighting game community, I can tell you for sure that a lot of them play mobile gacha games, just that they don't play them with their IRL friends and rarely stream it. If you've ever been to an Evo or any major, you will be well surprised how many are playing mobile gacha games while waiting for their pools to finish. Something I've learned from playing gacha is that too many gacha players lack the ability to critical think. Okay, that's not somebody saying they play it. Arc Knight's a big gacha game, collaborate with Capcom. Okay. In addition, most gacha players play other games too. We're not tied down to one thing. As a fighting game player, it makes me pumped to see these type of collabs. Fighting games and gachas are pretty the only genres I play nowadays. Fighting games and gachas are my 2 favorite genres of games. You could scroll down this shit. Fighting game and gacha player here. If this collab is real, I'm gonna be way too stoked. So like the idea and notion is just, like I said, I don't know where the fuck this is coming from. I feel like it's not even like coming from an external objective take. I think it's just, I don't know, these guys are bitter about something. Who the fuck knows? But at the end of the day, as somebody who knows their shit about fighting games and why fighting games are liked by fighting game players, I assure you, Zenless Zone Zero has a lot of similarities. All that fancy ass animation shit, the super moves and stuff, fighting game players love it. Hot women, they love it. Intricate combat depth, they love it. Okay, character swapping, they love it. I rest my case, guys. If you want more proof, go look at this shit yourself. You can go to Max's Twitch VOD if you want to. That's up to y'all. But I think I've made my point very fucking clear that you guys are waffling and you're talking about shit you don't understand. Peace, love, and happiness. And I'll catch you guys on the flip side.